Welcome back to the As Told by You podcast. We are excited to have a friend of mine for a while now, Clay Vassey, who is an entrepreneur, a real estate man, and we are going to dive into what he has done with his little empire that he's building up in Seneca, and we look forward to hearing what kind of the secret to his sauce. Clay, thanks for being here with us. So, why Seneca? Why are you up in the Upstate? How did you get there?
Yeah, so Seneca's not most people's first choice, but I didn't mean to make it my last choice, but it was somewhere I always wanted to be. So Lake Kiwi is there, and if you haven't been on Lake Kiwi, you got to go on Lake Kiwi. I know everybody talks about Murray. I know they talk about a lot of other lakes, but Lake Kiwi is the most beautiful lake in the state, in my opinion.
Well, the setting is, you can't beat the setting.
You can't beat the setting. And so as a child, we used to go to Oconee Campground and camp up there. And then the barn was there for barn dancing. And, as a kid, that was our vacation spot. So I knew one day I wanted to be there. But I got a call to work with a company that had 5 offices, and they only covered the lakes area. And when they called, they said, we'd like to talk to you about making a change, making a move, possibly looking at working with us. And I just immediately turned them down. I said, no, I'm not interested. And he says, well, listen to me first, because this is around Lake Kiwi. And I said, well, when are we meeting? Like, it was that quick.
I was like, oh, never mind. I am interested.
Yeah, never mind. You got me. You got me at that.
Yeah.
And you're going to pay me. So
Right.
That's what took me there. I've moved a lot. I've lived in Chicago, St. Louis, Dallas, Charlotte, Columbia, went to Mars Hill College from Campobello, South Carolina. And so I've lived in a lot of different places, experienced a lot of different things. Never would have expected I'd ended up back in a small town like Seneca. But the growth that's there, the popularity of that lake, the market that's there, tied with Clemson and all the other small markets around it, it really is a great place to live. What
What did you do before you got into real estate? You're a real estate broker now. You have your own real estate brokerage.
Correct. Yep. So before that was industrial sales, and before that was Yellow Page advertising sales. So before podcast was Yellow Pages, and
that's real. That's real sales right there.
That's real sales. That's exactly. So I learned what a successful day looked like whenever I was in Yellow Page sales. I moved to Chicago, and when I moved up there, I was playing basketball and I broke my elbow. I fell playing basketball and I broke my elbow, and so I had 2 weeks off because I drove a stick shift little truck. Driving around Chicago in a stick shift truck with a right broken elbow is not the best way to get around. And so I got a call from a headhunter, and it just happened to be the right time. And I was like, look, I'll meet these folks. I have no interest in industrial sales at all. I'm making fine money selling Yellow Pages. Thank goodness I got out of that. And I said, but you got to promise me you won't shake my hand whenever I meet them. Like, that arm is broke. And so I did go meet the guys. He did shake my hand, which, I was in a cast, but he did shake my hand. And I got the job in industrial sales. And so that job then led me from Chicago to St. Louis. I got a call from my competition, which was a great story, and I moved to Dallas. And so that traveled with that job and ended up in Dallas in industrial sales.
So what is industrial sales?
Okay.
I was going to ask that question because you said it like I should know what industrial sales is. And
it seems like a pretty general sales.
I'm thinking like smokestacks and maybe metal things. I don't have
big machines.
Yeah.
Real close to that. So loading dock material. So dock levelers, doors, high-speed doors, anything you see inside of a warehouse. One of the final products was one of those giant 24-foot fans. I mean, if we're naming brands, I can do that. But, they're giant, big fans.
Right.
And so that was one of the final products that I was really in charge of pushing. And so that's warehouse equipment. Yeah. That's what it came down to.
That's cool.
And then what landed you back in Columbia? Because that's where we first met.
That is where we first met. So my parents and my father was a real estate agent, and he was one of the worst kinds of real estate agents because he was in the business for 30 years and never bought or sold his house. My mom still lives in the house that they raised me in. So he always said, I'm the worst kind of real estate agent because I've never bought or sold a house.
Yeah.
But what brought me back was I'd gone through a first run at life that didn't work out the way that everybody would hope and plan, and decided I was done, and then fell in love. And so falling in love put me back in Columbia. And then opportunity to move here with that industrial sales position was available, and they offered it to me, and I said, okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, tell us what you're doing now. What's the current scenario?
Yeah. So It's a lot. I do a lot of things. Mainly my primary, what you'd say is my income job is real estate. There's a lot of real estate agents out there. There's a lot of people that know what real estate agents do. A lot of people assume they know what real estate agents do. But I started that 12 years ago. And within the first 3 years, the company I started with was here in Columbia. They were purchased. And then when they were purchased, I was asked to become a broker in charge and move to Charlotte and work on Lake Norman. And so I took that opportunity, but literally the day that I could get my broker's license, I did get my broker's license and then took on that responsibility.
Wow.
Since then, I've carried that and worked for 2 big companies, great companies that I really enjoyed working with, and then decided it was time to do something different. I looked at a couple different options and moved into a more virtual formatted company. The brand is called Real. Really enjoy working with Real. It allowed me the opportunity to create a team different from what I'd seen anywhere else. And so while I'm not the broker in charge of that particular crew, we've got an office that's built on collaboration, that we share more than just commissions. We share growth and share opportunity, and I have an entrepreneurial background. And with that, I'm able to grow businesses. That's more fun for me than the real estate.
What is it about Real that is different than the other brokerages that you've been typically a part of?
Yeah, that's
what's the difference maker?
So it is different if you want it to be different. It doesn't have to be different if you don't want it to be different. I think the main difference is Real can be whatever you want it to be. A lot of people push aside some of the virtual formatted companies, mainly for the response out of the early growers of these brands, which was recruit, and you get paid to hire. So it's, that a downward spiral of growth. And we're not based on that. So what I really like about Real is they give us the opportunity to grow upwards in different formats in different ways. And so the opportunity for me to have what we'll call a market center in Seneca, to have 17 agents that we all work closely together. We share ideas, we share responsibilities, but we don't have to share work habits. We don't have to share a lot of the same tools and a lot of the same things that you're required to use with some of these larger firms. It gives us an opportunity to be more creative.
Yeah.
And have more variety probably.
It is a lot more variety.
Yeah.
So your bigger brands will supply you with a lot of tools to use. And you know this, so they give you CRMs and they give you some things that you can use, and they try to push a lot of weight on, you already pay for these in your splits, or you pay for these in your desk fees, you should use these. And you put all your information into these things. And then if you do find an opportunity or an option for you to leave, that's a retention tool now. Gosh, I really don't want to have to go and break loose of that. I don't have to go without this. And so they use tools for retention rather than opportunities for earnings and opportunities for growth. And I think Real really focuses on, we want you to grow your business rather than grow our business. Big difference.
So are you still showing houses and listing houses yourself, or do you have other people doing that for you?
So I have 12 closings next month.
Wow.
The business exploded for me. So as a broker in charge for one of the larger brands, I say larger brands, one of the more commercial style brands, I was a non-competing broker, so I couldn't sell. But I would then assist and coach and grow businesses of these other agents through those formats. But now I get the opportunity to go and do that myself. So I do get to lead. I do get to grow small businesses. I do get to grow larger real estate brands and larger real estate businesses, but I also help and assist in buying and selling real estate.
So a lot of people think, they think of real estate agents as salesmen.
Sure.
And obviously selling industrial equipment, selling the yellow pages, that's sales.
Yeah.
What's the difference between being a real estate salesman and a traditional product salesman?
Yeah, so first and foremost, I don't know of another industry that gets the opportunity to sell something we don't own or have any interest in. Like, what in the world? How do I get to sell your house and I've never put a dollar into it? So it's not really a sales job. I coach this way, but success is not in the number of closings we have each month or each year. Success isn't necessarily in how many new listings you get. Success comes in the day-to-day activities that you've scheduled yourself to do. And so when you can schedule your activities and say that at the end of the day I was successful because I completed these tasks, you feel successful every day. But there's a lot of folks that get into the business that their goal is to close 10 transactions a year. And if they don't close 10 transactions a year, meaning at least maybe one every month and a half, they feel like they're not a success. But if they would just change their success back to say, today I'm going to reach this many people, I'm going to do this kind of activity, this is my marketing strategy, now their success comes at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, whatever time they decide they're going to finish working for the day.
And that's so cool, by the way. This is a huge deal, right? You don't measure your success by the closings or the outputs or that kind of stuff, but why what you're putting in every day.
Yeah.
The effort.
Well, when you think salesperson, you think salesman, you think vacuum salesman, right? We go way back and they throw the dirt on the floor and my day is I'm gonna sell 8 vacuums today, right? It can't be that way in this business because there's not 8 places to sell those vacuums. Yeah. And so there's a lot of stress in this industry. There's a lot of inconsistencies of income. When you look at the amount of agents that are successful in this business, better than what your average income would be for your area, it's very few people that actually make it.
Yeah.
Relationships become a big deal in real estate.
Sure.
Because, some of the top agents, they don't do any marketing. Their phone just rings.
Yeah.
And those are the people that have built relationships over time, and people know what they do and they are ready to.
Yeah. And then when the opportunity arises, they know who to talk to.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. It's with the top, I could say with the top 10 agents that I would call my primary market, those folks' phones, they do ring all the time, but they're also the largest givers. They're involved in all the charities. They're involved in all the organizations. They're not the ones doing the golf tournaments.
Right.
They're not the ones that got into the business because they wanted to make their own time, make their own schedule. Mm-hmm. They're the ones that realize that you're hired by the people that employ you to sell their homes. And so now those folks are your boss.
Yeah.
Right. And so you work when they need you to work.
Right.
Different from I want to be my own boss and I want to make my own hours. Mm-hmm. It's a big difference.
Which is a misnomer anyway. Right. That was one of the reasons I got into business to begin with. I didn't realize that all your clients become your boss.
Absolutely.
So you don't have that one boss that you can complain about, oh, that guy, but you do have all the clients, or they're always the boss, right?
That's correct. So, and the craziest thing about real estate is that when you finally you have success in real estate, you're out of business.
Yeah.
When you close the transaction, you got no other way to make money. Yeah. And there's so many folks in this business and a lot of other sales style businesses that when you close, you're done. And now you got to go find more. So
there's no add-ons or upsells. You just got to move on to the next.
That's what it is.
Yeah. And it's a clean slate every time. You go, uh-oh, where's the next one coming from?
Oh, you're fired every day. You're unemployed.
But that's where the pipeline comes in.
Right. Well, I was thinking about our business. We are paid for something that we've not made yet.
Correct.
So we get paid almost always in advance, at least some in advance for something that we've never made.
Yeah.
And that is almost completely dependent on other people doing their part, right?
That's right.
And so it's interesting when you get to that stuff where if you're selling industrial equipment or you're selling Yellow Page ads, at least you got a concrete thing to say, here's the thing I'm selling. Would you like one? Here it is, right?
Yeah.
I got 3 of them.
Knock on enough doors.
I got one in the truck.
That's it. Yeah.
You want one? I got one in the truck. It's right here.
That's right.
But it's hard when you can't do that. You have to either sell something like you said that's not yours or that you've never made.
And you're selling 2 groups of people.
Yeah.
So you're selling the folks that are trying to buy the house, but you're also selling the folks that are trying to sell the house. Mm-hmm. And so the negotiation is you're negotiating against the person that's purchasing, but also your client if you're the listing agent.
Right.
And to have to negotiate with your client is the hardest part of this job.
Well, what do you think makes the difference between the good realtors, the good agents, and the one, because we all know, I've been close enough to, I've never been an agent myself, but I've been close enough to the industry to see there are these consistent superstars that just do well year after year, no matter what.
Sure.
And when you look at somebody like Patrick O'Connor or, any of those guys, you can see the work ethic on Patrick O'Connor, the way he does things. But there are also those agents like Zeke Riddle, that just are consistently great, year after year. Sure. What makes the difference?
So both of those guys make it look easy.
Right.
They make it look easy, and so it's enticing to folks that don't want to put the effort in that they put in. I know Patrick is up, and he's at work. He's sitting at the desk at 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
I know that. I know Zeke. Zeke is a hard worker and has been for a long, long time.
Right.
One of the coolest facial hair wearers.
He really does do well with that.
He does well with the facial hair, but those guys both work hard. Now, Zeke is great because he's so involved.
Right.
He's involved in a lot of different things. But I believe that the reason people don't succeed, not just in this, right, just in any business, is they look at people like Zeke and they look at people like Patrick and they think, I can do that. And then when you get started in this business or any business, you've got to start with a shovel, right? You've got to dig your hole with a shovel, and you're looking at the guys that have the excavators and they're digging giant holes, they're digging them fast, and you're digging with a shovel. Well, you get so distracted you're watching and you just flip your shovel upside down. Now you're using the handle and you're not paying attention to all the steps that they're doing. You're just envious of the money they're making or the work that they're doing.
Right.
But you're not realizing that they started with a shovel too. And sometimes that shovel digging, that hole takes forever to start, but you eventually get to that excavator, but they give up. They all give up. They get tired and they want to stop for a water break or they want to stop for some reason. You can't stop.
And it's hard to realize when you're too early. It's it's hard to realize when you just haven't been doing it long enough.
Well, the biggest mistake on any kind of heavy equipment is not knowing how to operate it, right? And if you do get the opportunity to drive that excavator, you're going to dump it. Like you don't know what you're doing, you're going to drop the thing. So you got to learn. You got to learn the steps. And everybody's afraid to talk to some of these top agents and ask them how do they get there, but they love to share it.
Yeah, of course.
In our market, we've got Greg Coutu, we've got Melanie Fink. I've spoken to Melanie, and Melanie said, I will give anybody my list of everything I do every day and dare someone to try to do it.
Like you can duplicate, you just can't outwork me.
Sure. That's right, because they don't, it's not a secret.
Right.
They got it from somebody else.
Right.
And they're not afraid to share it because they know 90% of the people won't do the same thing.
That's right.
They can't do it.
So Phil Kochstaller is my partner with Local. Local is our market center. Okay. So he gets really frustrated, same as I, when we have this great office for people to come and work from and nobody comes in the door to work.
Right.
They pay us to be there. They pay for the space and you're not using the space.
Yeah.
We have traffic with people that walk in all the time and then they complain that they're not making the money they want to make, but they don't show up whenever they have the opportunity to show up.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I've recognized about the great agents is that they're consistent. They're Coldwell Banker especially, they throw a gala, they're there. Yeah. There's a golf tournament, they're there. Yep. There's a charity event, they're there, right? Auction or oyster roast or whatever. They're showing up at everything, right? And they know they've got to be involved in things to be able to do it. So
that's the truth.
Yeah, that's some good stuff.
Give us a quick rundown of the whole buyer agent commission issue that went down and how that has affected your business and what does it mean for the consumer?
So real simply, it's done nothing. It really has done absolutely nothing for me. It hasn't hurt me. It hasn't made the business better. It hasn't made the business worse. It threw some paperwork in our way, which is okay. And it only tightened up the agents that were not honest or truthful as they should have been. It just made things more transparent. So the commissions that agents have made have always been disclosed, and they can see those on closings disclosures and on all the paperwork. But now we had to add extra paperwork. The truth is we can't advertise the commissions between agents and agencies through the MLS. So an agent can call me and say, are you offering compensation? And my response is, I am offering compensation because my seller has agreed to pay X amount of commission towards the transaction. And then from that, I'm splitting that with that agent. If we're not offering it from my agency, because we have a shared split that we're going to offer an agent, then they have to write it on the contract that they're requesting so much commission that then be paid from the seller through the transaction that way. So it just breaks it down to how our agent's going to be paid. Now, there's a lot more work than putting a sign in the yard.
Yeah.
There's a lot more work. And when you look at any other business, while we don't own the house, there's a lot of cost to acquiring a client. Mm-hmm. And that never has been discussed. The cost to acquire a client, the cost to acquire that listing, the cost for advertising and marketing, and it just goes on and on and on. And so those are the things that we're paying for with the money that we earn. But it's just the main part of the story is that we can't advertise it in the MLS anymore.
And how has that affected other agents? I'm not aware of this.
So. Well, it was a giant national lawsuit where NAR had to pay $80 million or something, maybe more.
So it didn't come out to that much. So they ended up settling on a couple of things, and I'm not the person to go through all the legalities of that at all. But they did settle on it, and it has been paid out. It is in the process of being paid out. But the civil suit for this, the money didn't go back to the people that
it went to the lawyers.
It went to the attorneys.
That's usually how that works, right?
Yeah, it's exactly how it worked. And the sad part is the main request was not for anything other than the money, and then there was no change that was required until the very end. Then they started making change. So it was all about the money.
Yeah, and it's basically the sellers or the buyer's agents really have. If I have a client and I'm the buyer's agent and they're wanting to buy a house, and how do I get paid? Does the buyer have to pay me?
Right.
Does the seller have to pay me?
So the craziest part about this is, where's the money come from, right? So when you're buying a house and you're buying his house and I'm the real estate agent, you're going to buy the house and you're going to give money to him. Your money goes to him and then he pays a transaction, or your money goes to him and I get paid from your portion of what you're paying. So it's the same money. It's exactly the same money. It's just, how is it identified? And being identified is the biggest part of that. And I think they've done a great job making it very clear. There's some things that kind of throw us back to the 80s and the way that we have to do things again, but we'll get through it like everything else. We'll get
Industries
through it.
always change, right?
They have to change, right?
Well, and I'll tell you, the last time I bought a house or sold a house was ancient history. So it was like 2009.
All right, well, I'll list it for you.
Yeah, well, whatever. But I mean, I don't have anywhere to go. Like, so I can
find it for you.
I could sell my house right now. I just don't have a house I could buy.
Yeah.
Right. Because everything goes up at the same time. So,
It does. It does.
I wish I could keep their prices down and my prices up. That's, but when I bought our house, the seller paid the closing costs.
Yeah.
And we paid the closing costs on the house we sold. And so, like, that's how it always worked back then, way back in 2009. That's how it always worked. I don't guess that's how it works now, right?
It can.
It can.
It's all every bit of that's still negotiable.
Right.
But the truth is,
Most
the
of the
seller
time.
didn't, or you didn't. The
Right.
transaction did.
Right.
The money that was in the transaction. So if you hadn't agreed to pay that seller's closing cost, then would you have sold the house at a different price?
I see what you're saying.
Right. So it all comes from the same pot.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and we bought our house, our current house, in 2009, right at the sort of coming down of the financial crisis, and so we bought our house for a great deal. Right. The house we bought was awesome. We lost money on the house we sold.
Yeah.
So like it just kind of flipped for where it is now. So
Sure.
our equity's almost doubled in the last 5 years, but it's like, how do we take advantage of that?
No one would have thought that would have happened.
Other than being homeless with $150,000 in our pocket, we could do that.
That's right. Yep.
Then we could go travel the country and be on adventures.
Yeah, you'd get an RV for 150 grand.
Just start TikToking it.
Just
So
TikTok.
that was
Yeah,
a huge
that's right.
fear when
Yeah.
the market changed. A lot
Yeah.
of folks thought that RVs, boats, jet skis, that people were going to use their equity and go buy this stuff. And
Instead of
while
buying
there was a
another
lot of
house.
stuff, we fortunately had a market full of money at that time, and so people bought those things cash or used some of the line of credit. So we don't have a lot of negative equity. At one point, only 2% of all the homes in the United States had negative equity.
Yeah.
And so I don't think we're at 2% anymore. Maybe 12, 10 or 12, but that's still not as bad as it could.
That's why the house prices go up. It absorbs a lot of that.
And we're still
negative
seeing that.
equity.
We're going to see 3 to 5% this year. Yeah, it's a change, but that's almost in any market.
Well, once we can get our daughter off to college, it's just me and my wife. We don't need the house the size that we have, so we could probably do that. Just like sell the house, and I'll be old enough at that point that I can't really run the business anyway. So I'll just sell the house and go travel the country on foot, maybe. Maybe just get a backpack with some clothes in it.
On your bike.
On my bike, yeah. That's cool.
So the backpack's just going to be full of cash you drew out of your house. When you
That's
sold
right.
it.
Because I want to be off the grid too. So no phone.
No phone.
Just try to stay out of trouble.
That's it.
And help people.
Yeah.
Be like Bruce Banner. Without the Hulk part.
So what other things you got your hands in besides real estate?
So I had someone walk into my office looking for space near our space, and they had a significantly lower budget than we did to start our business, and they were doing more of a product retail style idea. And I started talking around, and someone else said, well, if I ever had a space, I would do this. If I had a space, I would do it. So I built this small group, company, organization that we're calling the Collective. And the Collective is an opportunity for entrepreneurs that want to try something new to try in this space, mainly retail, not for art, not for any handcrafted items or anything, but mainly just retail. And so we've got 3 vendors in the space now. We're adding 2 more that I know are coming on board. But the idea is give anything a shot on a 12-month lease, but I'll let you out at 3 months scot-free if for whatever reason it's not working. Because the last thing you want to do with anyone that's trying to start something new is put them into a lot of debt.
Yeah.
So it's a reduced amount of money that they have for the space that I rented that we've divided into, it's 5 main spaces. And to try to start different ideas or different businesses.
So is it an open space and they have like a desk or a booth, or is it
separate offices?
they have actual walls and doors?
Actual walls. So when you walk in, it feels like a tiny mall.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a mini mall.
It is a mini mall. It feels like a mini mall.
Indoor mini mall.
Yeah.
Yep. And so someone that wants to just advertise a product that's not a grab and go style product, we have wall space that we lease for those folks for dirt cheap. When I say dirt cheap, $150 to $300 if they want a wall space. They can put a locked cabinet up with a QR code, and they can teach people how to open it or message people however they want to do it. But that gets kind of an idea of what product line they should carry. And then we have closed door space. They have their own keys. The main thing is they have to be there the hours that I open. And so I open Thursday through Saturday right now from 10 until 5:30. And they have to make sure those stores are open.
Somebody's
at that
there.
time. Yeah. And it's been really, really great. We've had one grow from a real small space into a much larger forward-facing, like out by the street space, and another has asked for another space within the space, so we're going to expand her, and that's really growing well.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
I should have something like that in Columbia. I wonder if there's a space like that in Columbia.
I don't know of one. It was just you just find a need and you just go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it reminds me a little of the food halls that they have in a lot of big cities. And Gather Greenville is one, that we go to a lot. They're putting a Gather in Columbia now.
Are they?
At the Bull Street development.
Coming soon.
Just announced it, so that they said it's going to be fall, I think. But they're putting it in the old church.
Okay. Yeah.
So they're redeveloping the church into this food hall. So it would be the first one we've had in Columbia, which will be great.
Yeah.
So but I love that idea. I love the idea of small kind of merchant being able to move into something.
You got to get the opportunity.
Test out ideas. See what works.
Well, you're definitely building like a community then.
Right.
And I mean, community is such a buzzword, but at the same time, it fuels activity.
Yeah.
Well, if the 3 of us own a business and someone comes in for my business, they don't know about your business yet.
Right.
But then they come in, they buy my product, they're signed into my register of whatever, and then they go to your business. We all 3 then can share the opportunity off of that one client. And we don't have to then sell our commission souls to one store to sell our products. We can have our own stores and grow our business that way.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. I developed my business at a co-working space in Columbia, and it was the most valuable thing for me because I could be around a bunch of people who are doing stuff. I could ask questions about, hey, I just got this letter from the government. What does this mean? That kind of stuff without having to kind of do it on my own or hire a lawyer every time I needed something. I could just go. There was an accountant that was in our group, and I could just go to him and say, what does this mean? Yeah. What is business personal property tax? I don't know what that is. Yeah. And so we could kind of sort that stuff out. So that's really cool. So what are you doing in Columbia? You said you come down every 2 weeks. What do you come to Columbia for?
So I'm involved in a lot of different organizations. Again, I think the best agents are involved with the most things. And
right.
So I'm involved with a leadership program through SCAR, which is the South Carolina Association of Realtors. So I'm here today for that. We have agents in this area, real estate agents in this area that I go and visit when I'm in the area. And so I stop by and see them. Plus, I'm growing a small real estate group here myself that we're hoping to expand and grow and get bigger.
Nice.
As that goes.
So the program you're saying, like you're mentoring agents, or like you're something through SCAR that you can be a sort of sounding board or check and see how they're doing and help them out.
It's this particular group class. They offer 15 positions to come in and be part of a leadership program. Mm-hmm. You get to learn about how the government works with real estate and with what we call RPAC, which is the way we raise money for our
right.
politicians that support the real estate programs
right.
and property rights. And then we get to be part of that. And then we have different meetings at different places. So we met in Charleston. We've met here several times, again, here today. Mm-hmm. And we're learning how real estate works through SCAR and then kind of the behind the scenes of where the laws are made and how the paperwork is put together and why we have the contracts that we have and why 8 pages, 12 pages, 3 pages, all the little details of that. So today was one of those paperwork days.
Paperwork days.
Paperwork days are the best. I love paperwork
They are
days.
absolutely not.
Oh man,
and
it's my favorite part of business. Really, is the paperwork days. You know,
Yeah, you're the guy that likes to go to
when
the
I can
sausage
sign
factory
stuff,
and see
you
where the
know,
sausage is made too.
Oh my
Yeah,
God,
I get that.
I just love it. I will
just
tell you.
love it.
And you have a dance studio.
Yeah, my wife owns Capital City Dance and Fitness, which is just up the road here. We were trying to figure the number of years that she's been involved and run a dance competition, which we have here in Columbia, and then that dance studio. So I think she's 18 years that she's been with that studio and run that studio.
Wow.
So she's down about every 2 weeks. She's got a great group of instructors, and now we brought on a partner. So we've got someone that helps her with that, so we don't necessarily have to be here all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I assume she doesn't instruct much because she's in Seneca.
So she actually does instruct a lot. So this is not something you hear often. She is a phenomenal clogger.
Okay.
And so her clogging instruction is some of the best in the state, if not in the country.
You know, clogging is one of those things I'm not sure I've ever seen a bad clogger. You know, you don't look at anybody clogging and you go, not so good.
Yeah, but when you see a good one, you're like, no, that's a good clogger.
Yeah, it's like there's
I guess
levels
if you're
of clogging, you know, that goes up, you know.
Yeah.
I've always said that about a steel guitar player. I don't know if you've ever seen a bad steel guitar player or a harmonica player.
Yeah.
Like every harmonica player, every time somebody brings out a harmonica, they're usually good at it.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Guitar players, on the other hand, I've seen a lot of really bad guitar players.
Yeah.
They're dime a dozen.
I agree with that.
I think clogging is like that. Like you don't bring it out in public until you're at least pretty good at it.
You don't tell everybody you do it until you're really good.
You know, sorry, like I'm beginning clogging. This is not that good.
Well, what's the difference between clogging and tap dance?
Upbeat, downbeat.
Okay.
So that's if
Whoa.
you're into music, upbeat and downbeat.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
How about that?
You take tap and you take Irish and you kind of throw clogging in the middle. But clogging was originally designed as a competitive style dance, and it really picked up in mills.
Okay.
And so they would throw the sawdust out on the floor. They would build these boxes out of wood. They threw the sawdust down on these boxes, stages, or platforms, and they would put somebody under the box, and that person was the judge. And you would hear the feet. So you got buck style, you got the flat foot, you got all kinds of different styles, but the rhythms that you made then became a part of an instrument. So you got the washboard bluegrass guys. Your feet was your bass. So you didn't have a drum, and so the foot was the drum beat. And so that's where the rhythm came in. And it's a drag slide style clogging that started that.
Well, in my mind, clogging is ba-ba-doop ba-ba, ba-ba-doop ba-ba, ba-ba-doop ba-ba.
And that's a downbeat,
You know, yeah,
right?
That's right.
Not the
And
upbeat.
Yeah. So tap is a lot more. Yeah, I can hear it. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I've never been around it in my life other than I grew up in the country, so I saw people clogging all the time. But like,
Yeah.
you know, that's interesting. That's so cool. How varied and interesting is the world? You know what I mean?
Well,
the clogging is that deep. You know what I mean?
So my
I
family.
can't imagine the guy in the box going, blah, 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 blah.
Well, not anymore. Not anymore.
Still.
Not anymore.
I don't know. Somewhere there's
Somebody
a man-
was there.
Yeah.
Somebody's in a box somewhere right now getting clogged all over. Yeah.
Nothing back then was a lot of fun. So I mean, you know, if you got to get in the clogging box, you're
Who's
like,
the
all
crazy
right,
guy
I'll
we
get
got
in-
to stick in the clogging box
So that's-
to count the beats and the footsteps?
Mortgage underwriters. That's
Okay.
that's
That's it. You just put them right in the
that's
box.
right in the
Yeah.
box. Dance right. Then
Yeah.
they tell you yes or no.
They're like, whatever. It's,
Whatever.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing stuff. I have been always amazed when we get people on the couch. Tyler has a Mason ring on.
Yeah.
He's apparently a Mason. Mm-hmm. He's apparently a Templar Knight, which I thought was not a real thing.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was a real thing until he said it. And so
And you should believe everything he says.
Tyler, we'll talk about that later. But I think it's so interesting what people get into, and you just go like, how in the world does somebody get to that point? Do you start tap dancing and then go clogging, or you're like, nah, I'm a clogger, or how does that work? How does somebody get into it?
My family and I started. So my wife and I know each other from that.
Really?
And so my family and I started when I was 6. I don't even know if you know this.
I didn't know that.
So we started when I was 6. My grandfather passed away, and so my cousin, she was clogging, and so my dad said, "Let's all get together and do a family thing, and let's clog." So, which takes us back to the first part of our conversation when I'd be at Oconee County all the time because we go to the barn dances, right?
Wow.
So we all learned clogging and started with that, and then we got into competitive clogging. My parents, my aunts, uncles, cousins, we all went as a family to these events, and then getting competitive. My wife and I both went to Mars Hill University, and we both were on the Bailey Mountain Cloggers, and so we traveled all over the world, Ireland 3 times, and different places all over the world doing this.
Yeah.
But that's how we ultimately really met, was through clogging, and I've known her for, I guess, since she's 4 years younger than me, but I've known her since she was probably 10. But
Just through clogging.
Just through clogging.
Like a sport.
It was like a sport. So after college, I got a call from someone that asked me to go and work with Jay Ledford, and then we ended up going to Salt Lake City. And so in 2002, we did the opening ceremonies for the Olympics in Salt Lake City. And so I was there for 2 weeks and was able to do some footwork, and we put that in the opening ceremony. So I've been involved in some crazy things. Clogging put me in most of it.
I would not have said dance.
Well,
if
you don't look at
asked
an
me when
overweight
you walked
middle-aged man and say, that guy can dance.
That dude is a competitive dancer. I don't know if you
don't ask me to sing.
No, that's all right. Don't ask me to dance. So we're good.
All right.
You know, that's
a perfect couple.
I was a music major in college for the first year, and what got me out of it was auditioning for jobs over the summer, and realizing that for every singing job I also had to dance. Yeah. And I changed my entire career trajectory because I was like, I'm just not going to dance. I don't have it. It's not a thing that's going to happen. So not that I don't want to, it's just like, I tried to let them teach me and they can't. So I just sort of gave up on it.
Just give up on it.
I have to stand at a microphone. That's the only way I can sing. I can't, I can't sing and dance at the same time. So it's totally fine. Do one or the other, dancers dance, singers sing, whatever.
That's right.
It's totally fine.
I sing with my feet.
That's right. Well, right. Yeah, exactly. And I love the rhythmic nature of it. Are you a kind of internet meme guy? Because there was a clogger that did you know what I'm talking about?
You're talking about Zach. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that who?
I know him.
I don't know his name, but but he got famous. Like he started doing his own videos where he was teaching how to do it and all that kind of stuff.
He blew up during the pandemic when everyone was sitting on their phone at home going.
Right.
Yeah.
And he looked so happy. Like he is that happy. Yeah.
He is that happy.
So do you know him personally?
I have competed with him. I've met him. I wouldn't say that I've known him.
But that's clogging,
but I know
right?
him. Yeah, everybody knows everybody. It's not that big of a world.
But I mean, that's what he's doing. Zach is clogging.
So he is a flat foot style, extremely traditional, where you wouldn't have, you couldn't teach him 8 beats of a clogging step if you had to.
Okay.
Where he could do it the same every time. He's very traditional in the sense that his footwork matches the music.
He's improving.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The entire time.
Wow.
He's more rhythmic. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Rhythmic,
But he doesn't look like, I mean, I guess whatever, but he doesn't look like he would move like that. If you just look at him before he starts dancing, he didn't look like he would be able to do that, but he just he floats. It's wild. He does. Yeah. So that's really fun. So any other secret talents or
You're a
is
car
that
guy.
about it?
I'm a car guy.
He's got how many cars do you have now?
I think I have 11.
11 cars?
Yeah.
And I assume they're not all Accords and Camrys.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not really a Camry guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, not really.
Most people don't collect those kind of cars.
Not yet, but they're coming, I'm
yeah.
sure.
It'll be like 20 years from now. Everybody will be like, oh man, I've got a 2012 Camry.
The car that you want is the original Ford Taurus that was in RoboCop.
Oh yeah.
That's the one.
That's the one.
Yeah. 20 years is about right on a car. One of the collector cars that I have is an 84 Mazda truck.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's
well, we did a video with a guy last year who had a 72 Mazda RX-3. Which was about the size of this couch.
Yeah.
And he had changed the engine out in it. He put turbos in it. He got it up to about 1,200 horsepower.
Yeah.
And that thing was this size, right? The wheels in the back were like this big.
Sure.
He had to reset the chassis to get it.
No weight to it at all.
No weight to it, and but he loved that. He loves that car and just wins all kinds of awards for it and all that kind of stuff. But I love weird little cars like that. But that Taurus, like you said, the RoboCop Taurus. I remember how futuristic that looked in RoboCop.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, when we were watching RoboCop, I was like, "Oh, that's a futuristic car," and then you realize,
but
oh,
it's a
for
classic
sale.
now.
Yeah,
So I went
especially
to
40 years old.
the STO, the one that's the
SHO.
the SHO. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I went to the dealership. My Jeep was in the shop. I went to the dealership to pick it up yesterday, and I hear this incredible sounding car. I mean, it was just this big, loud, muscly car.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked the guy, I was like, what in the world is back there? That is crazy. He said, you would not believe. I'm just going to have to show you. You're going to appreciate this, and you're going to hate it. And I was like, this is going to be some little Corolla. Right?
Yeah, something. Yeah.
Yeah. So we walk in, and it's the brand new Daytona, the Dodge Daytona. That's an EV.
Yeah. So what are they piping the sound out?
All of it's through sound system.
Ugh.
All of it's through sound system, and
That's tricky.
When you rev it up, it sounds like you're. When you're driving, it sounds like you're driving, and you can change the tone based on where you set the settings on the car. So you can set it to sport or whatever the modes are. But it sounded more realistic than most of the muscle cars.
Really?
Oh, it was crazy.
Wow.
It was great. And when he shut it down, he pushed the button to turn it off.
Yeah,
and
it just.
no, it blew doo 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 doo.
Oh wow!
It sounded like it landed. Like it was a
Well, the thing
craziest
is,
sound.
like I guess with an EV version of that, you get the performance you should have had in the Charger. You know, like you should have had this performance in the Charger, but now you can get it on an EV.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. It's going to be ridiculously fast. It's everything a muscle car guy wants, and the sound is 600 watts of sound in the way that you can hear from this car.
Right.
That's not an engine.
Right.
And if you put your hand on it, when he
feel it?
throttles it, the car rocks.
What?
Just like it. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
I'm not sure how I feel about that.
You hate it.
Fraud. I know. I am not sure how I feel about that. It's like when the original Charger came out and it was 4 doors. I'm like, yeah. Even if it's good, it's a 4-door. Like, why am I buying a 4-door Charger?
Here's what I compared it to.
Okay.
It's a vape.
Uh-huh.
Right? It's not really the real man's Marlboro.
We're not,
like it's
we're not
vape.
smoking. We're vaping.
Yeah, but I'm still getting some of the effect out of it. But it's a vape for a car.
Well, like I could forgive Ford for the Mach-E Mustang, right? Because you go, that's so weird.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like this is never going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't have to pay attention to it.
I agree with that.
You know what I mean?
I agree with that.
But what's going to happen over the next 4, 5, 6 years is that all of these companies are jumping onto this EV thing, and we're not going to have any choice. And we were talking about Brian and I were talking about a little while ago how like what would motivate me to buy my first electric car. Like I can't think of like where I would buy an electric car.
I'm in the market.
Okay.
I'm in the market. I've looked at the Hummer. I love the Hummer. Everybody
The
does.
Hummer looks amazing.
Yeah, it does.
And the crab walk is just one of those things that I'm like, okay, I got to be in a car that'll crab walk. I have no idea what's going
So
on.
Cadillac's been doing crab walk for a while. Cadillac
Really?
had that. Yeah, Cadillac's had it, and there's a couple other cars that have tried it and different things. But the Hummer EV is incredible. It's 9,000 pounds of weight.
Yep.
It's the largest battery in its class.
Yep.
And to charge the thing, it takes a while to charge, but on the high impact charging, it'll charge pretty quick. The problem becomes it goes 250, 300 miles.
Right.
And then when you get there, if you don't have a fast paced charger,
Like
you're
that
going to
charger.
sit forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's aggravating for that. But I believe my first, I've already got it on order. I've ordered 2 of them, made here in Columbia. The Scout.
The Scout? Yeah. I like the look of it. I like the look of it. I love the idea. Yeah, whatever. If I had a lot of money,
Wanna
I'd
buy
have
one to sell?
You know.
Okay.
But honestly, if you know, I would never. I want to see what it's going to be like because they haven't made one yet, right?
Yeah.
There's not one in other countries, or I mean, they've never made one.
So I think it's Volkswagen designed.
Yeah.
The ones that I ordered, they have a truck version, they have an SUV version. The ones that I ordered, one of each, were the ones that were thought that they would go up to 500 miles on a charge, but they've got kind of a generator system in it. That's a gas-powered generator that will then recharge the car as you're driving.
Yeah.
And so you get longevity out of it, which you can't get out of some of the
But
others.
not really a hybrid.
But it's not considered
Not a hybrid.
Yeah.
Not classified as a hybrid.
Yeah.
They've got the 300-mile version. But it's 1,000 horsepower at the wheels for these things. Same as the Hummer.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool, and it's local, and I want to support that.
Well, I agree with that. I would love to be able to. I'd love to. Well, first of all, I'm not going to spend $70,000 on a vehicle regardless. So enjoy. But I just can't spend $70,000 on a vehicle regardless. But I think that you know, the problem that I run into with any of that is that it still feels like uncharted territory. Like there's a gotcha somewhere in there that I haven't examined. You know?
I got close to the Rivian.
Did you? When you were looking at the
seriously
Denali?
thought about it. It's just for our family, I needed the largest car I could get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it had the third row, but it was basically just like all the other third rows that don't have any space behind the third seat.
Yeah.
And that just wasn't going to work.
So
but
I saw a car
really
and
liked
driver
them.
report 2 years ago about, it was like a little video wrap up of the year or whatever. And everybody's least favorite car of the year was the Rivian. Because they love the way it looks and they love the technology and they love all of the things, but the driving experience was miserable because there is no medium gas pedal. It's on or off.
It's a golf cart.
Yeah, it's a golf cart. So when you even just go, you're going zoosh, and then when you let off, it breaks your neck in the stopping. Now I don't know if that's just their experience, those four people's experience with it on Car and Driver, but I saw that and I was like, that's interesting. That's a thing that because like if you wanted a Toyota, you go to the Toyota dealership, you drive 3 or 4, you see which one you like. You can't necessarily do that with a Rivian or with a Polestar or with a, whatever Tesla.
So my
or whatever.
brother sells Audis, and he went on a trip to Germany to see the new ones that they were coming out.
Right.
And did a sales present, like had all the salesmen, and he found out that he sells more Audis in 1 month than the entire state of Florida in electric cars, and. But Audi has the ability to switch it. So you can change the setting from that all on, all off, or the normal feel of the gas pedal.
It's a drivetrain mode, basically. Yeah.
I don't know that I'm an EV fan yet. And I agree with what you're saying about the $70K for a car, because that is a lot of money for a car.
Well, for some people it's not, but I I've never spent more than $20,000 for a car. So I'm not going to spend 70. I mean, like Brian with the Denali, I can't stomach it.
Oh, I'm cruising in the 2000 model Ford Expedition out there today. I mean, it's just the best drive for the road and cruising around, not knowing weather and all that. But my favorite cars to drive. I've got a 68 Firebird convertible. That's my favorite car to drive. And it's 4 on the floor and it's a beast. It's an absolute beast. And no one can tell me how to drive it because there's no computer in it anywhere.
Right.
So that's my favorite to drive.
Wow.
Well,
Okay.
favorite leads us into our last 5 questions of our time here. We end every interview with 5 favorites.
Okay.
What is your favorite TV show?
I don't watch TV. If I got TV on, if I've got it on, I've got one of 2 things. One is some sort of a car show, builders of cars or something along those lines. There's a Las Vegas rat rod show. And so when I was in Las Vegas, I went out to their shop and got to look around their shop. That would be my favorite TV show. Yeah.
What's your favorite song or band?
Oh man, I love Metallica. I'm a big Metallica guy.
Wow.
But to say it's hard because I also love bluegrass. And right now, there's just a lot of great country that's coming out from bluegrass and Texas country. There's a lot of good stuff there.
One of the favorite things I saw at New Brooklyn Tavern is Hayseed Dixie. Have you ever seen Hayseed Dixie?
No.
It's a AC/DC bluegrass band. They do AC/DC songs, bluegrass style.
I'd have to. Yeah.
Hayseed Dixie.
So Red Clay Straits, they're a sick band that's coming up. They're doing a great job. They got some great songs right now too. So.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. That's the first we've heard Metallica on this. That's nice. I want to know favorite car. Is there a favorite car?
If I could have any car, I would buy as many cars as I could. Like if somebody said, "Here's all the money in the world, go buy any one car," it would ruin me. I'd have to say my Firebird. I bought it from a buddy out of Chicago. I'd have to say that's my favorite car. One favorite to own. I don't keep them long enough to say I've got one favorite to own, but I would have to say I like the idea of a Fisker. But it needs more power. I love the look of the Fisker, but
It needs a lot of things, I think.
It does.
Yeah.
So that would be like, what's on your bucket list of like, hey, I've got my eye on this car. If I ever see it for sale, what is that car?
Yeah, 2016 to 18 Corvette. I really would like to have one of those. I haven't had one of those yet. I've driven one. I'll have one of the old school Hummers, the H2s. I'll have one of those one day. I just have not bought one of those yet. And then classic car wise, anything I can get my hands on. A lot of real estate agents know that that's what I do, and they call me and, hey, I just found an Impala. Hey, I just found this. I just found that. Would you be interested? So I've got tomorrow I've got to go look at a Jeep that somebody's needing to sell to get it out of their parents' yard or something before they sell the house. So
mine is the '77 Firebird. At the Smoking the Bandit Firebird, the black with the gold.
So that is the same one that's in Rocky 2, right?
Well, so okay, I don't know about Rocky 2. I know that in Rocky 3, he's got the Lamborghini. Oh God, what is the name of that Lamborghini? But it was made just like for 2 years. It was like an in between the Countach and the Diablo. It was like a 85 or 6, and they only made a couple hundred of them. It was supposed to be this collector's thing. It was a ridiculous like V8 that had 220 horsepower. It was not powerful at all, but like, but that's one of the Rocky cars. That was my original thing, is I wanted to collect TV show and movie cars.
Yeah.
And so obviously the Smoking the Bandit Firebird was my first love, but then the '67 Charger from Dukes and Hazzard, and then Kit, I guess maybe an '84 Firebird would be fun if I could get
fun.
Isn't that a Pontiac?
Yeah, it's a Firebird.
Yeah, it's a Firebird.
Yeah. And then from Weird Science, you had the Porsche 918 and the Ferrari 308, which were paired on that. So
that Magnum PI
PI's Ferrari. Yeah. So.
Yeah,
Ferris Bueller's Ferrari.
Oh God, that California.
There's only a few of those, right? There's only 3 or 4 of those.
Oh, and then Sonny Crockett's Daytona from Miami Vice.
That was a good one.
Not the Testarossa. I never liked that white Testarossa, but the Daytona was gorgeous.
Okay, so favorite movie.
So I'm going to go way back on this. There's 2. My first very favorite movie would have been The Mask with Jim Carrey.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Right? Back when Cameron Diaz
at the very beginning of her career.
The very beginning of her career. And then Fight Club.
Nice.
Yeah, Fight Club. If you really dig in deep, I think third would be The Village, if you haven't seen The Village.
Oh, yeah, The Village is great.
Shyamalan, yeah. So those are all kind of my 3 favorites.
Fight Club's in my top 5.
Those 3 movies perfectly describe Clay.
Yeah.
And this conversation.
They are almost as far opposite as you can get, right? Yeah. The Mask to Fight Club to The Village. Yeah,
depends
I agree
on
with
which
that.
personality you're talking to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, the final question is, what would your last meal be if you were on death row?
I don't know. I'd be able to eat. I don't think I'd be able to eat. I'm a sushi fan. I love sushi and then red meat.
Yeah.
And so it would be tough between those. I'd probably.
Will you get both? Yeah.
If I could get both, it would.
We don't know the rules of the last meal, so and
they'd probably give you $100 limit.
We were talking the other day about could you have an ice cream sundae? Is that considered a meal? Would they bring that to you? I don't know.
I think no matter what, I'd ask to eat it outside.
Yeah.
I'd want to go outside to eat. I think if this is going to be it for me, you can feed me cereal. You can give me Raisin Bran and just put me outside.
Just not today. Not 38 degrees and raining.
No, I don't want Raisin Bran in this weather today. Yeah.
All right. Well, Clay, thank you so much for being here with us.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was awesome. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, it's great talking to you guys. Thank you.